welcome to the MPN Dealer Excellence Marketing Track. With so much of today's business being done online, it's more important than ever for you to not only have a digital presence, but to utilize it to generate more profits. But does that mean actually selling products online or not? We'll discuss that and more today as we learn how to grow and excel in the digital retail world. My name is Meagan Kusek, editor for Motorcycle and Powersports News, and I will be the moderator for this panel. With me today are 5 experts in the world of digital retailing. Let me introduce them to you. First, we have Johnathan Aguero, Vice President of Sales and Strategic Partnerships for Transax. Jason Nierman, Co-founder and Chief Revenue Officer for Rollick. Martine Nuera, Website Manager for DX1. Troy Snyder, Vice President of Digital Retailing for Trader Interactive. And Mike Wyrzykowski, co-founder and CEO of Blackpurl. All right. Now, we've got a lot to cover in a short amount of time here, so let's go ahead and get started. My first question to our panelists. In one sentence, how do you define digital retailing? Martine, we'll start with you, and we'll just move on down the line here.
Thank you. So I actually love this question, and I think that the majority of the panelists here will all say something similar but different, which is what makes digital retailing so unique and complex. But to me, digital retailing is the marketing of goods, products, and services online and allowing for the end consumers to engage with you and those products and services through multiple digital channels. So whether that be your website, search engines, social media, that list goes on. And being in the website industry specifically, our goal is to move that customer further down the sales funnel as possible digitally without them stepping foot into the dealership.
All right, thanks. Jason?
Yeah, thanks. I think you're going to find we're all very aligned in that. At Rollick, we define digital retailing as enabling the consumer to complete more than ever of the types of shopping and buying activities that they would want to do based on where they're at in the process, to enable the dealer to receive that information and ultimately set up a better transaction for the consumer.
Yeah, and I'll add a couple things to this, and these guys have defined that quite well so far. And this term is something that has evolved quite a bit. It's not a new term. It's a term that's been around for at least 10 years, especially in automotive. And in addition to attempting to digitize every step of the finance and purchase process, it's about bringing buyers, lenders, and dealers and OEMs all together in one seamless place to provide that ultimate purchase experience for everyone. And you hear terms like digital marketing or digital leads, and it's really well beyond that. Point being, this phrase digital retailing continues to evolve every month, even as data and technology progress.
To that, I would only add that digital retailing is good business, and good business is offering a buying experience that customers want. And what they want today is for it to be easy to do any of the actions involved in the shopping process. And digital retailing, for me, at Transax, is making it easy for a dealership to offer that to customers, to buy the way they want to.
Not much left to say, other than summarize it in using online tools to facilitate end customer transactions. That's it.
All right, thank you. Yes, I think we can all agree that it is important to be where the buyer is today. All right, so now that we hopefully have a better idea of what digital retailing actually is, let's find out why it's important. So here's my next question for the panelists. How has the digital user experience changed in the last few years, and how deep in the process do customers want to go online? Martine, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely think COVID changed that game for us, right? I mean, I know as a web service provider before then, it was all about, okay, let's capture customer information, get it to the dealership, right? Let the dealership, the people, their processes handle whatever that next step is. And I'm not saying that that is not still very important. However, we know that COVID allowed for us all to experience that online buying, right? And having all of that information at our fingertips. And with the newer generations coming up, we know that technology's kind of changed that game, and we have to be able to remain competitive and provide the consumer with all of the different ways that they can engage with you and your products that meet their needs, right? So let's just say that's making sure that we have a website that has all of the information that they're looking for, that it's easy to navigate, that they can easily get to your vehicles. And now more than ever, customers are willing to text you and ask you questions, right? So right on your vehicle details page, having that ability to click and text and communicate that way. If they want to chat, going to the website, pulling that chat function up and being able to communicate that way. I think about social media and how many of us have been on Facebook and been presented with an ad of some sorts, right? And we've engaged and then we've left and come back and there's that ad again and we're like, okay, fine, we'll just buy it, right? We want to be in that space in the power sports world. We know that that's a great tool and our customers are there and we need to be able to maximize on that. So I think the answer to that is they're absolutely more willing to dive deeper in that process with you digitally. And we need to be able to provide them with that technology or they're just going to go on to the next dealership that is.
Excellent answer. Johnathan.
Well, Martine observed that customers are willing to go deeper. And I think that's indicative of an attitude shift, both amongst dealers and the end buyers of our products. This is the time when customers are now ready and willing to do an increasing amount of the buying process from wherever they are at any time of day. So I think attitude is the biggest thing I've seen change.
Absolutely. And Jason, I believe you can speak more to that here.
Yeah, like using improv. Yes, and completely agree. And we actually can go a little bit more micro level into that. I think we have a slide we could pull up where we last summer went and asked consumers who were either prospects or known buyers their buying preferences online versus at the dealership. And so the data is really interesting to see, right? This is very fresh. This is over the last 6 months that we've asked these questions. And you could see the variety of shopping activities, right? Researching information about a product, just finding inventory, personalizing it and wanting to get a price, exploring financing options, applying for credit, trade value, and then actually starting to get more specific, like a real price, and then completing the full transaction. You could see the slide kind of shows the consumers more upper funnel shopping activities. The greater amount of people are looking to do more of that online than ever before. And a lot of that does come from what came out of the pandemic and consumer preferences, everything we've talked about. But we see still the majority of people want a complete transaction in the dealership. And so, as we mentioned, digital retailing doesn't have to be about the whole transaction happening online. It can, and maybe over time, the technology and the data will be there to do that. But right now, it's really just meeting the consumer where they're at and letting the consumer kind of choose their own adventure to the ultimate purchase.
All right, thank you. And Troy, what do you have to add to that?
I'd add, these guys are giving great answers, and it's refreshing to see we're aligned coming from different sides of the power sports industry. But all of us up here are building software, and Jason hit something key, listening to everyone that is intertwined here with digital retailing. Again, the buyers, the lenders, the dealers, the OEMs. What do you want us to build? What solutions are we building to drive people deeper into this process? What we see is there's a small segment that wants to do a full transaction online, but we're seeing growing segments that want to go into financing and understanding F&I products. And can I submit a credit application? What's my trade-in valuation worth? Can I get this delivered to my driveway? What's that's going to cost? And we're seeing people go deeper and deeper each quarter into this. And we are simply just responding to the feedback and the questions and the desire for them to do more and more from home. But from the dealer standpoint, we're seeing more adoption with depth in digital retailing as well, down to that finance transaction, which is the ultimate goal. But I think between Jason's slide and the Cycle Trader slide we just had up, It's a good definition of the growth there. Last year, we weren't seeing numbers of 70% that wanted to do financing. It might have been 45. So the demand is pushing us to develop deeper, but they're also going deeper into the products.
All right. Okay, everyone. So this is where you're going to need your phones. We have our first Menti question. All right. So, do you have a hard time prioritizing which digital leads to follow up with? Yes or no? All right. And so if you weren't here before, if you could just go to menti.com, MENTI.com, and input the number at the top of the screen there, 7155-1591, and then you can go ahead and answer this question. So. All right. Okay. So, looks like for the most, we're kind of near 50-50 here on the yes and no. So, that's actually a good thing. We're going to bring this up here. So, if you've got a DMS or lead generation program, you're probably getting a lot of information thrown your way, but I mean, what good is it if you don't really know what to do with it? So, here's my next question for our panelists. How can dealers ensure that the data they're gathering, that they see all the data they're gathering, and then put it to use in the right direction at the right time? So, Mike, if we could begin with you on that.
Sure. I think the one area would be is to identify where you're already strong, right, in the digital retail side of things. And one disclaimer here, we're the only DMS up on the stage, so we're more back office. All of these folks have great tools to enable the above the waterline, the front office, the sales, the revenue generation. But back to this question here, from our standpoint, watching it, you want to limit the amount of data that you begin to track. Probably utilize tools from one of these operators here that speaks to your existing strengths, and really obsess about tracking how the customers are responding and how they're behaving based on your on-premise success already, and then track it, measure it, iterate on it. So my opinion would be, and we play in data a fair amount, is start off small. In this case, small is big, and just gradually expand your fields of analysis as time goes on.
Excellent. All right. And Jason, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I may have another visual for this one as well. So we're real passionate about ensuring that anything that a consumer shares with you online clearly makes its way to you as a dealership, because if you don't have that information, you can't act on it. You also have the ability to create a really poor experience, because if the consumer tells you, let's say that they have a trade online, and then they come to the store, you don't look them up and realize that, and you ask again, as a consumer, you'd get frustrated, you get annoyed. I already told you that. I already told you what I have. So why are you asking me again? So we're working toward, and we try to integrate with every CRM, making sure that data that would come out of the tool makes its way to the dealership. But short of that, I think being able to deliver something like this, where the dealer can clearly see who the consumer is. Maybe we found out that they're a member of the military. That's a great way to recognize them, thanking them for their service, stuff along those lines. Creating almost like an AI-driven summary of who this consumer is based on what information was collected. Also, maybe information that you can pull from third-party sources, like a data append service could tell you if they're married, if they have children, if they live in the country. So packaging that together. And then, furthermore, all the activities. So if you have a digital retailing tool, what did they do? Did they pre-qualify for financing? Did they put in that trade? Did they say they want to have an appointment with you next Tuesday at 2:00? All that stuff is critical. And then even going as far as, what can you see about the consumer's online activity? So we can track what pages did they visited. And did they focus on a certain page for a long time? That may indicate an interest in a specific feature or model. So Again, this is such a critical part to it. I don't even think we've done as good a job with our tool over the last few years, making sure this information gets transferred over, but it's a big focus moving forward.
Okay. And Troy, I believe you also have some data to share with us on this point.
Yeah, and I think in general, any data that's coming out of a digital retailing marketplace or front end or software is going to be the richest lead data that you've ever received, well beyond any kind of lead data you've received before. If you can imagine, if the buyer's going through and doing more and more from home, our job is to bring and deliver all that data to you into your system of choice and in a format that's obvious and actionable. And what it's caused us to do is rethink how we deliver that lead data, but also form a stronger through-a relationship between our dealers, our OEMs, and the dealer systems that are being used, and just tighten that up. So again, it's that continual evolution of what digital retailing is and how we all tap into it, how we use it, but inevitably how to build the best experience for those three audiences we talked about before.
Okay, excellent. All right, so now we're going to kind of shift topics here, but I've got another Menti question for all of you. All right, it's been all over the news in the last year or so, and we can't escape talking about it. And that's artificial intelligence. So my question to you, how do you feel about one day introducing AI into your dealership? Are you ready to bring it on? Are you not sure, or do you want just nothing to do with it? I'm really interested to see the answer to these questions, by the way, and pleasantly surprised to see so many people saying bring it on. So, all right. Well, on that note, panelists, how do you think AI might affect digital retailing for powersports in the future? Mike, I hear you've already been getting calls about this. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, AI is coming at this industry, and it's kind of like when a tropical storm's forming somewhere in the Caribbean during hurricane season, and no one knows if it's going to hit Columbia, South Carolina, or if it's going to hit Brownsville, Texas, or anywhere in between. But as time goes on, its point of landfall becomes a little bit more obvious and a little bit more apparent. So I would say that AI has a lot of opportunity to assist with dealerships here. As it relates to digital retail, and again, the tools that these other companies are providing up here and using AI, I think it will do and assuming that digital retail, first of all, takes you beyond what your store can offer, what your physical premise is. It opens you up to markets elsewhere because you're virtual. And I think that artificial intelligence in the realm of digital retail, isolated again very narrowly to begin with, will help dealers better understand what type of customers are, what type of new customers showing up with different characteristics. So I think it'll make it a lot more intelligent. I also think artificial intelligence will, from an industry standpoint, allow manufacturers and distributors right down to the dealership, make sure that the right products is at the right place at the right time, eventually every time. And if it gets really, really good, AI could contribute to predicting what products and services need to be in what places at what prices before the customer even knows it. We've all fallen prey to what Martine was saying earlier about those ads that show up on Amazon. It's like, holy geez, how did Amazon know that I was even just thinking about this thing? And you're like, damn it. And again, you contribute to Bezos' yacht. So I think artificial intelligence has been coming towards us. I think that's where the impact is going to play. I think it's going to be positive.
Okay, excellent. And Johnathan, do you have anything to add to this?
Absolutely. We have these players out there like Elon Musk warning us all about the potential dangers of AI. But I think here at this panel, our focus should be solidly in the pragmatic, and AI is here to stay. It's in our vehicles. It's in every software platform out there, from your CRM, if it's a mainstream one, to your Facebooks, to everything else. AI is here to stay. Similar to Mike, I'd agree it's a hurricane that we can harness. And while the technology has been slow to come into this industry, we're starting to see it. At Transax, where we've built a complete digital retail platform, we've begun to use AI in the processing of data, and we intend to go further into its use, ultimately culminating in a situation where it enhances the job that every single one of us is doing at the dealership instead of detracting from it. I'll end by saying this. One AI expert, I can't remember who, put it this way: your job is not going to be taken by AI. It's going to be taken by someone who knows how to use AI.
Very well said. All right, panelists, I have one last question for you today. So, and this is for the benefit of our audience here. What is one digital retailing best practice that you would advise our audience to go home and implement right away? So we'll start at the end this time with Mike and just work our way back down.
I've had to go first 3 times now. I want a rebate.
I mean, I could start over here.
No. I'm ready now. No. Again, we're dealer management platform. We're back office. These folks are all front office. Some of them are front office and back office. Our understanding of opportunities would be map out your customer journey for your business, the experience that you want them to have. Also identify what you want your brand to be outside of the brands that you sell. And then figure out where you could get digital tools to allow your customers to make transactions online. Again, we're not quite there yet saying, hey, the whole thing is going to be end to end. Troy, I think you said that a while ago. This is a journey. But figure out where you want to put these tools and make sure that whatever they're doing, whatever tools you pick at what juncture of your customer path, that you're deepening the relationship with your customer, that you're actually making it more fun along the way. So over time, they do adopt the digital option that's available to it. And at the same time, you're not betting everything on something external. You're driving your brand and you're reinforcing a positive customer journey and relationship. So with that.
Here's the last thing I have to say. If we look at digital retail as just common sense, engaging people in the way that they want to be engaged, then there's a lot of ways to do that. I mean, do you have someone who's just responding to digital leads in a way that matches the customer's tone? Are we viewing digital leads as a nuisance or as a temporary state to get us into the dealership? Or are we viewing that as a valid channel all on its own? So I'd say what everyone in this room can do is ask that question. Is there a way that using the existing resources I have, can I respond in a more engaging, more compelling, more convenient way, faster, more consistently when I'm responding to any digital communication? Aside from that, there's many tools you see represented here on this panel that can help you with that task.
Thank you, Jason. I'll add to that, and Johnathan mentioned tools and being there where the consumer wants to be met. Means a lot of things. It doesn't mean waiting until they leave the journey to go chase them digitally, but be there with them throughout the journey. The word touchless used to come up, but I disagree with that. I think we're in this together digitally, so be there in that journey with them. Use the tools, activate the tools that are being built to answer the request by lenders, by buyers, by our own dealers, is really the simple rule. And to get together, we will continue to evolve this thing. It's going to mean something different 2 quarters from now. But for now, it's defining what is digital retailing. Back to the original question, we're giving you our answer as it is today, but it still means being in this together and continuing to process it digitally. Thank you, Jason.
No problem. I'll reinforce something I said earlier, and I mean this truly. Like, if your dealership is ready to embrace a component of digital retailing, then go all in on it, in the sense that don't just put it on your website to have a tool. You use the tool to better your in-store experience, right? Like, make sure you take that information that's got collected and use it. And if your provider, us included, doesn't enable that for you, push us too, because we need to hear from dealers, all of us, in terms of what you need to be able to take a tool like this to actually make it impactful and improve your close rates and deliver a better consumer experience. And again, not annoy a consumer who gave you information and you didn't respond to that information. So that's what I would say.
This question excites me because I think one really easy way, one easy thing you can do when you leave is just check out how you're branded online. Like, when was the last time you Googled your business? Where did you show up in the search engines? Are you represented the way that you should be, the way that you expect to be? When you think about your online presence, that is a digital channel, right? So when was the last time you modified your website, you updated it? Think about it this way. Like, I love this analogy, but a website is kind of like a cell phone, right? So we all have cell phones. The iPhone 8, it still takes texts and calls and goes online, right? But why are these software companies releasing new models of phones every single year? Because there's benefits to that technology. There's upgrades, there's enhancements. Yes, the older stuff still works, but you're missing out on something if you're not keeping up with your online presence and your website and making sure the content is there. Do you have actual inventory images? Are your prices displayed online? And I know that's a whole nother topic, but consumers want to go and see what it is that they're interested in buying. Are you putting videos online of those units so that they can see it? 360 views, your sales reps walking around. There's more of that personalized experience there. And also on your phone, have you looked at how you're represented there as well? Our data shows that about 70% of consumers are shopping through their mobile device, right? And that's just DX1 data, obviously. And it depends on where you're located, what products you sell, your demographic. But when was the last time you looked at your online presence on your phone? And if you're unsure, right, of what to do, that's why you've got, service providers out there like us and, the guys on this panel here with me. We are the specialists. So if you need help, reach out to your providers and lean in on them for that assistance, because you guys are, the specialists in selling the products you sell, and we're the specialists in helping you enhance those sales and make something out of it. So definitely reach out for help.
Very well said, all of you. Thank you for your insight. And now we'd actually like to open up the floor to the audience for a Q&A here. So if you have any questions, please approach one of the two microphones in the aisles here, and we'll direct you to the right person.
That's great. Great presentation, great content. As I mentioned in the previous session, something that's really, really important. There's a new ruling for compliance coming out. It was started in December, the FTC CARS ruling. And if you guys aren't aware of that, you really need to make sure you're in tune with that, because it's going to be enacted in July. And it centers around quoting, pricing, and payments. So as we know, payments are very important for 90% of the consumers. So basically, the nutshell is, when you quote a payment to somebody, it has to be accurate. It can't be a guesstimate, can't be a range, and it has to include all the fees. So pricing too. So as you guys are building out the great technology that you have, compliance, it's a $50,000 infraction for each one. So it's very important, not only just for the dealers, but for lenders and the OEMs. So just throw that out there.
Yeah, I'll jump in with Terry. We talked about it. Terry's one of the leading experts in this whole world and digital retailing too. So I want to call you out for that. I think this is something that's in a way could become an opportunity for all of us, because it means we have to get tighter with lenders, right? Our integrations with lenders has to be better. I know from my experience in working with many industry lenders that they need this to kind of step up too, in terms of their ability to integrate and be able to provide real-time type payments at the penny precision level, right? So I'm hopeful that any tool like ours that would have the ability to display the payments, if that, when that passes, or I'm sorry, gets enacted, that it will force that sort of precision and create a better experience for the consumer. Because to your point, gone will be the days of saying, you can get up to this percent. You're going to have to give a specific percent and a specific price. And if you fail on that, you're going to be let down. So hopefully it'll be good. It'll push us all.
So it seems like this is just fast forwarding to a very just transactional buying experience. And I'm wondering how, you alluded to it a little bit about matching the digital leads tone in the emails, but is there any other way to kind of potentially build that relationship with that digital lead to try to, I guess what I'm getting at is Yamaha had this program that they pushed out where they had you could see what the dealer had in inventory, and then you would have the price and you could put the deposit down on that. And it just all seemed very transactional, and it didn't really, no really way to differentiate the dealers to show, how to like build that personal relationship with that customer so that they keep coming back to you. It just kind of seemed like, okay, well, it was purchase price driven. And so that's what I'm kind of afraid of that gets lost in all this is the relationship selling and getting to, foster that relationship with the customer and build, and then, have a potential customer for long term.
Yeah. And I think many dealers share your fears about that, about losing out on that personal relationship with customers. And I think, several of our panelists here could speak to how that is not necessarily going to happen in the powersports dealership. Is one of you like to take that?
I'll say something about that. In all of the non-automotive adjacent industries, having a personal buying experience is really important to dealers and the consumers. I mean, we're an enthusiast industry. People want to have that experience you talked about of a personal relationship-based selling. And so one trend that we are seeing is dealerships are putting a pause in the online transaction, where maybe they allow the customer to figure out their rate, figure out their financing. They go through putting a little money down. They commit. Maybe they cross that threshold where they've now committed. But then they build in that parts and accessories conversation. They build in a meeting or a phone call or a way to engage with them a little more personally, and thereby have the best of both worlds. That's one strategy we are seeing. As we evolve that direction, I think we'll see a lot more options crop up.
Yeah, I think it's, you can think of it perhaps this way of getting the not so fun conversations out of the way online, the pre-qualifications and, the research and all that, but then getting them into the store to actually, talk shop about the vehicles, about how to customize them, accessorize them. Would I be correct in saying that?
Absolutely.
Any other questions, please?
I think Mike had a comment here.
Yeah, I think one of the things would be, again, like mapping the journey of the customer, not outsourcing your soul to technology for the sake of doing it, like what you described right there, and recognizing this is sort of digitally enhanced experiences, right? So you inject the technology at the service at the various points, but don't use the technology to force an outcome, like a sale, right? Just ram them through a little bit. So again, look for those opportunities to use technology to tighten your bond or relationship or understanding of your customer versus forcing it too fast.
If I may, I think you're going to have some customers that are going to want that personal experience, and they're going to just maybe go as far as, submitting a request, a quote, or submitting a digital lead. But there's still that expectation from that customer that you're going to pick up the phone, you're going to call them, you're going to email them and build that relationship. But then you've got those other customers that are looking to do more before they even step foot in. So it's about maximizing on that technology to be available to either avenue, right? So not letting one overtake the other, which is what I think my, fellow panelists were saying.
but at a minimum, use it to eliminate points of contention like pricing confusion, price transparency. Consumers have been telling us this for decades. They're tired of feeling like they're not getting a good deal when they show up at the dealership or the pricing has changed. So there's some bare minimums with taxes, titles, and fees that digitally we can present to them and resolve that early from home, but also let them take care of a lot of the homework, monotonous things from home that our dealer sales reps don't want to have to go through and cut to the chase when they do show up at the dealership. So we're pretty focused on that area specifically with the Cycle Trader Buy Now product, knowing that the few are going to go the whole distance. We'll figure the rest of this out along the way, but what can we chip away at and alleviate and make everybody happy, make everybody satisfied, and then gift wrap this buyer to the dealer at the most critical point?
So, kind of to this point, great question. Great comment you made out there. So, as we look at the digital journey, our customers, the customers out here are looking for an experience. That's where they're buying, especially in the power sports industry. They're the experience of that. And what I've kind of been going through this whole thing, you've got your DMS, you've got your CRM, you get digital retailing now out there. And then you've got all of the lead sources that are coming into your website to touch point. What I'm noticing is if we're really going to move into a space where, they're saying they want to buy online, we've got to start building trust with our digital platforms that we're doing. And I think that's the biggest challenge that I've been noticing is that you've got all these different integrations and all these different digital ways of getting leads in there and moving them out to your salespeople. And how do you get the digital retail platform to build that trust when you're working with so many different touch points and people and companies out there? We can map out our journey. And I like, I forget your name, but anyway, I like what you had to say about mapping your customer's journey online and who are they and what kind of experience do you want to give to them. But man, it's tough out there when you've got so many different companies that have different ways of doing it and not necessarily being able to map into the journey that you want to create. So again, kind of getting to the whole trust factor, if I'm a customer online, I want my experience to be omni-channel. I want my experience to be how I want it to get it. I don't want to be shoved into giving my name, my phone number, and my address. I need to have somebody earn that from me, right? So again, as we get into this, there's my question comes down to is how does a company go in and say, I'm going to have a DMS, I'm going to have CRM, I have digital retail, I'm going to have a financial transaction, a deposit that they're going to put down, and have it really build a trust factor so the customers, when they get into that, they're online, they're ready to go inside of the dealership already and enjoy it and have a great time and delivery, and then we can make that experience really wonderful inside the dealership based upon what they did online.
I can jump in here quickly on this one, and great question. And we haven't really talked about fraud and security, and the more we rely on technology, the more there is exposure for this to take place. And it's, again, protecting all parties involved with digital retailing. And I think I can speak for all of us up here. We feel it's our responsibility to some degree to take care of that, whether you're signing docs or you're submitting a payment, deposit, full payment, whatever it may be, that we be the first gate system to make sure we validate ID, the vehicle's real, the dealer's real. To some degree, that's on us to make everyone comfortable and feel safe. And that will accelerate digital retailing as well. But I think that topic is something all of us have on our whiteboards and in our minds every day. It's one thing to accelerate technology, but what comes with it is that responsibility. And, Terry mentioned lending, and Jason was talking about how we're looking at our lenders to pick up the pace too with their software tech. The same is true for fraud and fraud prevention. There are new companies popping up every month that are specializing in validating IDs, VINs, you name it. So it's an exciting space. It's a little nerve-wracking too. That's our responsibility. But we're taking it pretty seriously.
Another aspect that plays into what you're saying is openness and interconnectedness. One way that we help create trust is by, on the dealership side, working with tools that are open and connect to each other. If we look in the mainstream, we have big platforms like Zoho, HubSpot, Salesforce, Facebook, Google, and they all interconnect. You don't have to use everything that they offer. You can connect one piece they offer to a piece someone else offers. And right now in this industry, in powersports, we are facing a decision. There are website companies out there that are very open. There are website companies out there that are looking to be a little more closed. And I think those who champion openness, like the people I know on this panel all do, we are going to foster a sense of security. It's like when you go to a website and you can log in using Google or Facebook and everything just flows. That experience itself creates a feeling of trust.
Yeah. I'll just add, there's also, I think, tools, for example, the concept of a digital retailing tool inviting you to see if you might qualify for a special offer of some type based on an affiliation, like the military. Let's use that example. So if you can collect that and verify that they're a member of the military or a veteran, now you're kind of bringing in that level of trust, right? That they have that affiliation, or maybe you're a member of another organization, or you're an employee of a local employer. So activating that experience through like an offers engine then creates trust that you have a relationship maybe with that organization. You're providing a special benefit for that organization. So I think that's one other way to kind of bring third-party trust into the equation. Just one like example beyond ensuring privacy, security, all that sort of stuff.
I'm going to come at it from system standpoint. So touching what his name's Johnathan Aguero, but I call him Aguero, what he was saying a second ago about interoperability. I think what we find right now, everybody's familiar with a DMS, and we're guilty of it too, where you try and sort of silo your product to maximize opportunities to generate revenue. So you charge integration fees and so on. And we were kind of talking about this yesterday. That's kind of outmoded. So to your question about trust, and I might not be answering it directly, but I do think it's something that needs to be spoken to. Everybody's got a smartphone. Anytime you download an app, you don't have to call a number. You might be paying for the app, obviously, in most cases, but you don't have to pay an integration fee. You don't have to sit there and wait for, Apple or Android to, we're going to integrate with this thing soon. It just works, right? It's done. You configure what you need on your phone to match your lifestyle or your business, and you get on with it that way. We've been talking here in our little group yesterday, bumping into each other across the board here. We've got to move in that direction, like all the technology providers. So from a trust standpoint, your customer, the end customer, can't experience the choppiness because we're bitching at each other and we're not linking up. We've got to, as an industry, get beyond that and find ways to allow you to drag and drop, and your customer doesn't know any different.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today, and thank you so much for attending, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show.